All right, so today we'll be going live with Lifestyle of Eden. His name is Nick. He is from California, but he is a great coach. He is very educated. He's actually about to open up his university, uh, Q4, I think he had mentioned. So we haven't formally met before either. So this is gonna be great. But see if we get him. I'll get him a request. Let's get him. All right, just sent him an invitation, so hopefully Instagram isn't going to tweak out. If not, he can just request to join. That's an option. We'll see. I would say, is it allowing you to request to join? Oh, it's saying you're unable to join? What? Oh, here we go. We're good. Just accepted you. I just skipped that part. There we go. All right. Is it Nick? Is that how do you want to say it? Or want me
Yeah,
to say
man.
it?
Yeah,
Is it
brother.
Nick?
Yeah,
There we
man.
go. Well, yeah, I was just telling my followers like, hey, we haven't even met yet, and to be honest, I was gonna have like a guide or whatever to kind of flow through the convo, but I was like, I think we both got some experience in what we're doing, so I was like, not really needed. But yeah, I'd love for you to really just introduce yourself and to my followers and kind of what you're up to nowadays. I know you obviously work with a plethora of clients, but you're also making a university, so I want you to get into that too. For aspiring coaches you said, and then obviously coaches that are looking to advance their skill set as well.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Yeah. So my name is Nick Tognetti, and I'm 31 now. I've been in the fitness space for, as far as the profession goes, since I was 18. So it's been about 13 years. Kind of been all throughout it. I was top five at Mr. Texas back in the day for bodybuilding. That's initially how it started. Was I was bodybuilding and all of that. Haven't bodybuilded since I was 22 years old. Got into the functional space for no other reason than my own issues. I had in my 20s, I had stage 3 kidney disease, liver disease. I had SIBO, gut dysbiosis, H. pylori, candida. I was dealing with stage 3 and 4 adrenal insufficiency, multiple autoimmune diseases. The list kind of goes on and on. I was bedridden for just under a year. I was
Wow.
bedridden. Went all over the place. Every doctor, clinic, everything all over the country. Nobody could help me. And, I'm also a pastor and a doctor in the faith. And that really was where my salvation physically came from. The Lord started giving me dreams and guidance and all these just different things from the scripture. Hence the name of my business, Lifestyle of Eden. It's the lifestyle of the Garden of Eden. There are these 7 pillars, which
Mm,
I always reference, my 7 pillars of disease reversal, prevention, and longevity.
wow.
And they were founded from the scripture, and it reversed all of my diseases. And so it's the foundational pillars for how I go about every framework, whether I'm dealing with endometriosis, PCOS, menopause, autoimmune, thyroid disorders, insomnia, hormonal imbalances, metabolic dysfunction, breast cancer, prostate cancer, whatever it is. So it's led me here to have a great clientele, lots of great testimonies. And then, yeah, as you said, I will be coming out with a functional university in Q4. We will actually be launching for coaches to be able to apply in October of this year. So right at the
Okay.
beginning of Q4, and that will close for the first semester for next year. That'll close in December, and then January 1, the ones who are in that will be able to start that January 1. And we're only allowing for the first semester, we're only bringing in 30 coaches, and those
Okay.
first 30 coaches, I can't disclose the price yet, but they will be getting about 25% off of my
Okay.
entire tuition during that time. So yeah, it'll be great.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I mean, obviously we can dive into that too. And I think a big thing too would just be obviously that's some crazy adversity to go through. Just you said stage three or stage four, which
Stage 3 kidney disease. Yeah.
kidney. Wow, being bedridden. And you also mentioned obviously all the other functional issues from the gut dysbiosis, H. pylori, adrenal insufficiency.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is so crazy to talk about because, like, you spoke about, like, dude, I saw everyone. Like, I saw all the specialists, saw all the doctors,
Yeah.
and for some reason, I'm seeing the top of the top, and I just don't feel better. I just feel worse. And as a matter of fact, I'm bedridden. So I didn't even know that. So you're a pastor too. That's what you said?
Yeah. I got ordained as a pastor when I was 24,
Okay.
and I became fluent in Hebrew and Aramaic. So my whole Bible is Hebrew and Aramaic. I don't even have an English Bible. And then, I was a valedictorian at the biggest yeshiva in the world, which is a Jewish seminary where you study under rabbis from Israel and stuff like that, just to learn Jewish context of Jesus and, of the scriptures and all of those things. And then got my doctorate as well. I'm also a published author, so I have multiple books on Amazon for ministry, things on the Holy Spirit, all of that type of stuff. So I keep myself busy, definitely have my hands full with everything. And now I get to go around. That's why I travel so much. So right now I'm currently in Missouri, but I just moved to Houston from California in February. And then before that, I was in Houston for a little bit, then Iowa, Dallas. The last 5 years for ministry, I've just I've gone all over the place. So it's been
That's
crazy.
awesome, though. That's so awesome, and I think that's a great thing to hone in on here. Is that's the how foundational and important it is to have that faith when you are healing. And so I guess that would tie into, I guess, the next question. So you said that the way that you've been helping people is kind of the way that you helped yourself with
Yeah.
the seven pillars. So
Right.
do you want to quickly go through what those seven pillars are and
Yeah.
kind of the ideology behind how that might help with people's chronic health conditions and issues?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And actually, a mutual friend of ours, and he's been a mentee of mine for quite a long time, Larry,
Yeah.
who you
Yeah,
know.
Larry, you connected us. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we actually did. So, Lifestyle of Eden, my business, we have a Lifestyle of Eden podcast on Spotify. So every week
Okay.
we have a new podcast that drops. I actually invited Larry because he has been somebody who not only have I taught the pillars to, he has radically adopted the pillars, just emphatically. He's just a full blown believer of them. And so we actually did a podcast. We did 7 podcasts on each of my 7 pillars. So I'll share them here, and then for people that want like an
Yeah,
hour and a half,
I'll link it in the below Lifestyle Eden podcast and
yeah,
have them also get more educated on those in each episode.
right. Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of depth there. But yeah, basically the 7 pillars, like I said, they all come from the scriptures. And so the first pillar is nutrition. But I always tell people what's funny about that is that this is probably the least important pillar out of all 7. And I'll get into that in a minute in regards to the terrain theory and why I put the nutrition probably at the least, or maybe second or third from the least, but it's definitely not the most important, surprisingly enough. But the reason it is important is because one thing that we have not connected, one thing we don't realize is the whole reason Lifestyle of Eden was birthed in 2022. I was at the farm in Iowa. We have 180 acres out in Iowa. I was on the farm.
Iowa.
Yeah.
Is that where you're from?
No, no, no. I'm from Houston initially,
Oh, okay.
but very good ministry friends and family that I met when I was in Israel. They live in Iowa, and so I went out there to live for a year and a half, and now I still go
Wow.
back and forth there for ministry.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I was gonna say, well, one input, my bad. I mean, not to disrupt you, but I was like, well, yeah, I actually went to uh in grade school, I went to a Lutheran school. So I went through a Christian school. My brother's actually becoming a pastor, so I know it's a little bit of personal stuff, but he's actually
that's
becoming a
awesome.
pastor. I'm actually in Minnesota, so he's getting his what's I don't know the technical term, but he's over in Eau Claire, Wisconsin right now doing it. But yeah, it's that's crazy. But yeah, keep going.
Yeah, dude, that's great. Well, I was on the farm, and I had asked the father. I said, Father, why is it so hard for your people to get on track nutritionally? And the Holy Spirit spoke to me right there and told me the reason it's so hard for my people to get on track nutritionally is because when Adam and Eve sinned in the garden, they sinned by eating something they were not supposed to eat. The first sin was nutrition. and we've never connected that dot. Nutrition kicked us out of the garden, and the Lord showed me that in the end of days, he was going to use a nutritional movement that was going to bring us back into the garden. So I started studying all of these concepts with nutrition. If you look at nutrition, nutrition was meant to be, if you look at Genesis 1, it's specific, it's very clear. It says, Genesis 1, even all of our animals were supposed to eat only every green herb of the field. They were commanded to be grass-fed. So our animals were meant to be grass-fed. Our dairy was meant to be raw. Genesis 18, Abraham gives the angels raw dairy. We see this in Hebrew very clearly, but raw dairy. Our fish was meant to be wild caught. Our fruits were meant to be organic, not loaded with all these things. Vegetables were actually very minimal, contrary to common belief. It was not tons of vegetables. So there was all these things with nutrition. But then within the Garden of Eden concepts, we have the 7 pillars. We have the nutrition for the first one. The second one is community, stress management, and environmental toxicity. Community, there's only 3 things in the whole Bible that we're commanded to cleave to. The first one, a lot of people know, you shall leave your father and mother and cleave to your wife. Mm-hmm. The second one is Deuteronomy 4. It says you shall cleave to God. And the third one is in the book of Numbers, chapter 36, verses 7 and 9. And it says you shall cleave to your community. We're required to have community. And now today we're more isolated than ever, which is the root of almost every single autoimmune disease. So the second one is community, stress management, environmental toxicity. The third one is body movement. Notice I didn't say working out. Body movement, gardening, getting up and down, walking to the store, walking around up in hills and this and that. If you look at the 5 blue zones around the world, almost none of them, except Loma Linda, California, none of them are actually working out. They're walking up hills. They're just doing basic body movement. They are not lazy. They don't just sit on the freaking couch all day. They're moving their body. The fourth one is hydration at the cellular level, which means we have to have unrefined mineral salts. It is one of the things that God commanded in the book of Leviticus chapter 2. We were meant to have salt. It is a major, major thing that we need to be having in our body. A lot of people, they're just drinking a ton of water and there's fluid in their veins, but it's not saturating their tissue, which is the number one reason for migraines, by the way. And the fourth one is oxygenation. And the fifth one is oxygenation. The fourth one is hydration. Fifth one is oxygenation. Oxygenation is much bigger than breathing. When we're talking about oxygenation, we're talking about oxygenating our cells, our mitochondria. Well, we have to remember, why is this important? All disease in the world is mitochondrial, meaning, hey, your mitochondria are not functioning at the speed at which they should. They slow down, and therefore the mitochondria in your kidneys, when they slow down, what do we call that? Oh, your kidneys are slowing down. That's kidney disease. Your liver, your fat burning, all of these things are mitochondrial. Well, what do mitochondria use to burn up our food and to burn up our fat? They use oxygen. No oxygen, no burn. So it's why in the medical field, what do they say? Where oxygen is present, disease is absent. Where oxygen is absent, disease is present. So the key is oxygenating our cells. So how do we do this? Well, what does the Bible teach us? You have to think about when Adam and Eve were in the garden. What would they have done to take a bath? They would have gone into the rivers. They would have gone into the streams, right? Well, think about this when it was wintertime. Mm-hmm. They still would have gone in there, but it would have been freaking cold, bro.
Yeah, so exactly.
What were they doing seasonally? They were doing ice baths. They were doing cold therapies. And so if you actually look at the way why God designed it that way, whenever you go into a cold therapy or a cold shower or anything of that nature, what's going on is that all of the blood in your body, if you go into a cold shower, you go into a cold plunge, for the first 20 seconds, you're going to breathe really, really fast. I do a cold shower every day. I go, and then after about 20 seconds, it calms down, right?
Yeah, because it's actually parasympathetic. Yeah, and most people don't actually think that, especially, we'll get into that.
Well, and so what's going on is all the blood rushes to your core. It leaves the rest of your body. It rushes to your core to go to cover your lungs and your intestines to keep them warm so that you can survive. And when it goes to your core, what is all going there and what is the blood doing? It's becoming concentrated with 2 things. Number one, around your lungs, so it's becoming oxygenated. and it's going to your intestines to get filled with nutrients. So your blood vessels constrict and everything goes to your core to get oxygenated and filled with nutrients. And then when you come out of that ice bath, your blood vessels go and they blow up, and all of that oxygen, nutrient rich blood goes to the rest of your body, saturating all of your tissues and all of your mitochondria with two things: oxygen and nutrients. So now we're oxygenating our cells again. We're removing inflammation. We're filling mitochondria with the energy source, oxygen, that they need to burn up food and burn body fat. The sixth one is autophagy. This autophagy is just two Greek words, auto and phagy. It means to, auto means self and phagy means to eat. You're eating yourself. So we need to be doing fasting. Fasting is the number one form of autophagy. Now we're trying to replace autophagy with drugs, rapamycin, even keto and all this stuff. I'm not against all those different concepts, whatever. But the reality is, until you're doing my pillars, meaning you're getting back to the basics, which is fasting, you are pushing autophagy, you're cleansing your cells, you're removing senescent cells and inflammation so that your cells can renew themselves. Until you're doing these things, all the other crap is in vain. And then the seventh is sleep. God designed our body to get sleep. That's why Psalms 127 says, you stress about this, this, and this, yet God gives his beloved sleep. He actually equates the sleep and stress as polar opposites. And if you look at the world today, I mean, I look at all my clients, and the reason I fix them up so easy is because I fix the 7 pillars, but almost all of them have two things they're missing: sex drive and sleep. And the moment that I just start saying, hey, you need to be getting 8 to 9 hours of sleep, hands down, this is not a question. It's not a negotiation. There's no choice here. There's not a choice. It is a command. And so when you start getting sleep, the body starts repairing, immune system starts recovering. But it's not just sleep, it's sleep and grounding. We were meant to be touching the earth every single day to absorb the electrons from the earth as natural antioxidants, to calm down the immune system, to reverse autoimmunes, and to fix our circadian rhythm. We have to understand that the basics are my pillars, and my pillars are free of charge.
Mm-hmm.
And yet we're trying and going, spending tons of dollars on all these peptides, all this other stuff. And
Yes.
I'm like, hey, listen, I'm not going to say I'm utterly against these things or like I never use them. But what I'm telling you is, until you're doing my 7 pillars, you're wasting your time and money.
Wow. Wow. And now we can get into it. They just got the prep. Now we can actually get into it now. And what do we even mean by that? So what you just heard from Nick and everything he does is that you see that now he addresses the issue at a multi-dimensional way, meaning that if someone's dealing with an autoimmune condition, what your doctor, endocrinologist, whatever, is going to give you an immune suppressant drug. Or if you have a thyroid condition, they're going to give you thyroid medication. So you obviously, most people do not get better from that. Now, what Nick is speaking about is how you need to correct all these things inside your life to fix this issue. And one thing that I've learned a few from different mentors, you probably know them too, is that deductive inductive reasoning. And that's exactly the ideology of what you're doing here in terms of like, we want to look at the complete picture, okay? What is your eating like? What is the environmental area you're in? Toxicity you're speaking of. Obviously the movement, moving lymphatic system, draining things out, getting, I mean, into the next, which is cellular hydration, like enough, pretty much you're saying salts, and I mean a lot more, oxygen, autophagy, and sleep. And I love this because it is so true, because every single person is going to have their own modality and how they help someone, but everyone sticks and stays dogmatic in terms of like, maybe they'll just do testing, recommending different things, and that's great. But if you do not have any of these things in check, then now you're getting
Right.
distorted values on the testing as well.
Right.
And
And we can,
so,
and we
yeah,
can get into the whole, here's the thing. It goes much deeper than this in the sense that, like I said, we're dealing with methylation issues, we're dealing with autoimmunes, we're dealing with endometriosis, we're dealing with we're going to have to protocol accordingly to each individual concept. But the 7 pillars are still the foundation to be able to fix all of those things, to where then when I write protocols or do certain things, it's actually efficient in reversing whatever it is. But most importantly, after you reverse it, preventing it from ever coming back. This is the
Yeah.
reason why all my endo cases, all my fertility cases, all of these things, PCOS, they never fall back into their issues. Why? Because
Yeah.
once I fix the complexities, now just live my 7 pillars. And a lot
Because
of times
that's.
what I noticed too with my second pillar, we're dealing with more marriage issues than ever. And so because
Can
of
you
this,
remind what was the second pillar again? I'm trying to reference it here.
no, you're good. The second pillar is community, stress management, and environmental toxicity. And most people are having so many issues within the home. The husbands are not giving their wives the emotional attention they need, all of these different types of things, that this is a huge root. So the pillars are not just the basics words that I called each one of them. Within each pillar is so much stuff.
Multifaceted. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. Like, because you think about it as like, okay, well, like you said, okay, we have someone with Hashimoto's, we have someone with RA, and it's like, okay, well, you probably have some like food sensitivities maybe from the nutrition, so we want to help with optimizing that maybe. I don't, or someone's having some toxicity issues, but in an abusive relationship. Now, it's a whole different topic. That's a part of the pillars. Now, the
Right.
third is maybe you're not getting enough movement in through the day, or you're getting too much movement. You're doing the opposite, and it's not how it should be. And then obviously with everything else, talking about autophagy, your cells, your immune system is inflamed. There's so much cellular inflammation. We got to get that out of there. We got to start cleaning it out. And then obviously when you're speaking about sleep and grounding, I mean the average American gets 6 hours sleep a night.
I know that's exactly what it is. Thank you. That's exactly what it is. And it's literally the basic stuff that I tell people all the time. I'm like, we have to understand. I just made a post about it last night. I said it's called toxic traits, and a lot of people are commenting on it right now. But I had said, listen, the reality is what no other practitioner will tell you, and I'll tell you, I have no problem. If I hurt your feelings, it just is what it is. But 98% of all of our illnesses, understand this, are self-inflicted disease.
100%.
One, like,
100%.
it is the stuff we're eating. It's we think, hey, and I go, hey, why are you stressed out? Why don't you have time to do this? You don't have time to, like, people will tell me, hey, I don't have time to ground 30 minutes. And I go, then you have a freaking problem. I go, you need to fix your lifestyle. You don't have time to ground for 30 minutes. And I go, then you don't have time to do any of the basics. I don't have time for this. Why don't you have time? Well, because I've got to work here. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And I go, you want to know why you're working so hard? Because you're buying homes you don't need. Your wife is over there buying tons of watches and jewelry that nobody cares about. You're comparing yourself on this to social media. I go, listen, the basics is this. Let's get back to the basics. There's 2 things that we need the way God designed us. And when you understand this, you'll realize almost every purchase and thing that we're doing is out of pride and all of this. It says in Genesis 2:7 that God blew the breath of life into Adam and he became a living soul. When God made Adam, he had 2 things. He had his breath, and it was him being led by the Spirit and getting closer to God with things in the Spirit. And then, do you want to know how God made him? He made him naked. He
Mm.
made him completely naked, to where when he was naked, he was considered upright, according to Ecclesiastes 7:29. Meaning, you do not need all the people always laugh when I tell them this. I don't even own a watch. I do not own a watch. Literally, I
Me
don't even
either.
own one.
I
Not
don't even
even
got
a
a chain. I don't
yeah.
even got a chain. I mean, like I said, dude, I grew up like this is good stuff. Like this is way beyond probably someone listening right now, and this is a whole different topic. But if you can, and I bring it all the time, but if you truly bring the heart and soul of everything, which is your faith, into the healing equation, it is not guaranteed you will heal. It is inevitable. It will
Amen.
happen. I think it will wholeheartedly happen if you
No, amen.
introduce that into the healing journey. And I know this because my uncle is also a pastor, and just like you said, and the biggest thing too is obviously that self-infliction they put on themselves in terms of like I can't heal.
Yep.
And all whatever. I don't know what happened there, but they keep putting these limiting beliefs on themselves.
Yep.
And this is the same time back to what you're saying. I don't have time for this. I don't have time to ground. I don't have time to get in the right movement. I don't have time to fuel myself with the things my body is starving to need. So I think that's important too. And I think another thing is that second one you're speaking of, just like that community and stress management in today's world. Obviously, like when I'm not sure if you will tie in. I don't know if trauma goes here in this one. I'm not sure, but
It
like
does. It does.
so, like when you look at that and you look at trauma and you look at what happens with the body, obviously that is huge. In all chronic health conditions that, like you said, 98% are self-inflicted.
Yep.
Because we got to remember that there was an environmental adaptation your body has went through to get to the state you're at today. So what that pretty much means is that you didn't wake up one day 40 pounds overweight, joint pain, PCOS. Like, no, there was an environmental adaptation that happened. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to untangle that environmental adaptation. And the ideology behind how you're doing it here is we're going to be using these pillars as the foundation, and then we'll fine tune depending on the individual slash condition slash symptom slash goal.
Absolutely. And you look at today too, you go, well, two things. Number one, the root of just about every single disease in the United States today currently is a cortisol issue. And I go, you have to look at certain statistics. Statistics. This is what I use in my whole university. So it's going to be debatably the biggest functional university in the United States of America when it comes out. It is mind-boggling in depth, and multiple doctors, top doctors in the country have.
Yeah, I've been hearing that you got different doctors. Like I don't remember the specialty that they are using, but I know they're talking about holistically though. So,
Yeah.
but that's crazy.
Well, and so within this university, like for example, I have a class like on endometriosis, right? So I start out every class with the statistic. I go, hey, 1 in 10 women have this. Autoimmunes, okay, 8 to 13% of women have this. SSRIs, okay, 1 in 10 people have SSRIs, which is more than autoimmunes, by the way, which is mind
Dude,
blowing.
no, dude, I onboarded like the last few weeks. I probably onboarded like like I don't know how many, but it was probably like 8 out of the like 16 people. That's half. 50% were on fluoxetine.
Yeah. So
Fluoxetine.
so we,
It
we
was
have all these shocking statistics, and one of them that I talk about is dementia. People talk about Alzheimer's or Parkinson's. Just to clarify for terms, dementia is an umbrella, and Parkinson's and Alzheimer's are a type of dementia. So anybody who has Alzheimer's, you have dementia. Oh, what type of dementia? Oh, you have Alzheimer's. It's like saying Hashimoto's. Hashimoto's is an autoimmune disease. What type of autoimmune? Hashimoto's. So same concept there, right? So
yep.
dementia, 1 in 2, by the way, 1 in 2 U.S. adults over the age of 80 or 85 have dementia. By definition, God forbid, but by definition, according to that, one of us on this call, by
Mhm.
that statistic, will have dementia by 85. Why is that critical? Dementia is called type 3 diabetes. Well,
Absolutely.
what's the diabetic rate today? 49.6%.
Dude, I
1 in 2.
this is so true
So,
because personally, I learned about all these neurodegenerative diseases when my grandpa was going through Parkinson's, as it being that slow decline of pretty much, many things, but really dopamine too being,
one of them.
obviously
Yep.
one of the
Yep.
biggest. And then I was like, it all adds up. A1C, pre-diabetes, diabetes, metformin, and I know this because a little bit of background behind me is I worked in a nursing home for like 3 years as giving out medications, insulin shots, narcotics, morphine, free, all of the medications. I mean, I dealt with a lot with that. And this is why this is important in what we're doing, because what you're about to get into is that what you're doing today, 20s, 30s, that is causing these statistics and what we're having today.
Dementia doesn't happen at 85.
Yes, exactly.
It starts at 30. And so you look at the fact that anybody with diabetes or prediabetes, by the way, which by the way, 80% of pre-diabetics don't know they're pre-diabetic, by the way.
Oh,
So
dude, gotta talk about the fucking dude. I just tested, and I'm like, you got prediabetes. Not everything I say is just we tiptoe that, but I'm like, hey, you got prediabetes. I'm like, every single A1C,
yeah,
5.9,
right.
6, 5.8. I'm like, just rattling it off. Another one, another one, another
Right.
one. It's like,
So every single person with prediabetes can sit there and say, if I don't fix this, by the way, I'm going to have dementia. But you have to go, what's the root of the diabetes? And I always tell people there's 4 reasons for prediabetes or diabetes. 4 top reasons. Number one, you eat McDonald's every day, which quite frankly, I'm going to be honest with you, is I don't even think it's the most dominant reason for diabetes, according to my practice. The second reason
Well,
is
that's a whole different topic, talking about the studies and who we work with. But
yeah.
that's
The second reason is hypothyroid. The third reason is a gut issue causing systemic inflammation and therefore insulin resistance. And the fourth reason is cortisol. Well, did you know that the root of the gut issue is the immune system? What's the root of the immune system? The adrenals, which is cortisol. The thyroid, it's because of a T4 to T3 conversion. What's the root of your missed T3 conversion? It's the enzyme deiodinase, which is affected by what? Cortisol. Showing every single reason results back to cortisol at its root. And so when we're discussing this stuff with cortisol, adrenals, all these things, I go, listen, all of these people, whether they're 21, 22, 28, 37, low testosterone, all these things. Why? Because cortisol causing inflammation. Your Leydig cells for men or in your testicles or your theca cells for women in your ovaries can no longer effectively take cholesterol and produce androgens anymore. All of it is resulting back to cortisol and adrenals, which, by the way, is the number one health issue that we actually find in the Bible. Every single time, starting from Genesis all the way through the book of Revelation, what does God rebuke the children of Israel for, and what does Jesus rebuke his disciples for over and over again? Stress. What is a lack of faith? Every time they have a lack of faith, what do? They start stressing. And
anxious, overwhelmed, just everything.
what does he always rebuke them for? Lack of faith. It is stress. It's the number one reason for illness and rebuke in the entire Bible is stress because of a lack of faith. Everybody is having this stress and cortisol issue. And like I said, it's self-inflicted. It's people wanting the bigger homes. It's people wanting to have more bills. It's people needing to do this, needing to do that. And I go, there's a reason why God said in Genesis 3:19, from the ground you came and to the ground you shall return. He was giving a medicinal reason for how we're going to be able to be healed. When you understand that the ground is the key to healing, why? Put your face on the ground in humility and repent before the Lord. Go back to the earth and get the food that comes from the earth. Get your animals to start eating from the earth, not all the other stuff. Get yourself to start grounding more, getting dirty with the ground. Like the ground is the root with all my pillars. And it's the root of humility, and it's the root of where you're not going to be living in chronic stress and needing to live in all these high anxieties and all these things. The cortisol is the root to every disease. Name it, PCOS, endometriosis. I can go on and on and on.
Yeah, everyone. The PMS, I mean, hormonal imbalances, obviously diabetes, pre-diabetes. And
Menopausal symptoms now not binding to the estrogen receptor properly. So when
early perimenopause, it's just all
exactly.
of it, all of it. I mean, yeah, like I was just actually talking to another coach today, and we were just talking about how like these women in her 30s, even later 20s, are coming in and they're like, their doctor's like, oh, you're perimenopausal. I'm like, that's lifestyle induced. That is fully induced by you. You do not just your body isn't just going through menopause at 28 years old, at 33 years old.
I have a podcast that just came out with Dr. Carrie Jones.
I've learned, yeah, she's obviously a great doctor. I've learned a lot from her as well.
About 2 weeks ago, we just did a podcast, and it's up on my podcast. It's called Menopause.
Yeah, I listened to it. I listened to it.
And on there, she says it verbatim. I told her, I said, Dr. Carey, I am seeing people in their 30s coming to me with perimenopausal numbers, and I tell them this is not perimenopause.
Exactly.
This is mitochondrial disease. She says it on the podcast.
Yeah.
I'm not putting words in her mouth. She says, Nick, I 100% agree with you, and I have long agreed with you that this is not perimenopause. I say you have serious dysfunction. This is literally what's going on. Menopause is supposed to be a 53-year-old thing, not a 38-year-old thing, not even a 42-year-old thing.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's more of a whole different topic. But when you're saying that it's mitochondrial dysfunction, like how do you mean by that?
So, what we're talking about when we discuss menopause, well, we have to understand, how do you diagnose menopause? Well, doctors diagnose, but I can at least tell you the numbers for it. So, number
Yep.
one, any estrogen under 30 is technically menopausal numbers, but the way you actually diagnose menopause is technically off of LH and FSH.
Yep.
So
The
LH will
signals
go
from your
to
brain to make to your ovaries for female to
right.
make hormone.
So if LH goes up to about give or take 20 to 30, FSH will generally go up over 40 or 50. We have to understand what's going on. LH and FSH, they're not a root issue, they're a response issue. So they
Yep.
are responding and saying, hey, for a woman, your ovaries are not, for some reason, your ovaries are not taking cholesterol, and we're not picking up that there's testosterone and estrogen sufficient amounts in the bloodstream. So what does your LH do? It says, hey, we need more testosterone. And then what does your FSH do? Hey, we need more estrogen. So they both go up. So if you're, let's call it 35 years old, and you're very inflamed from a cortisol issue, whatever it is, if you're inflamed, and we have studies in PubMed that show this, I have it in my university. If you're inflamed, what happens is, we'll speak for a woman, not a man, but it's the same concept for a man. What happens is your theca cells, in your ovaries for a woman, you have theca cells and you have granulosa cells. Your theca cells are what take cholesterol and produce pregnenolone from that. Your mitochondria take cholesterol and
Yeah.
produce
The
pregnenolone.
whole different topic with the high cholesterol and not converting, but that's a whole different one. But
So what happens is your mitochondria are responsible for making these androgens. They'll take the cholesterol, produce pregnenolone, and then pregnenolone goes to androstenedione. Androstenedione goes to testosterone, blah, blah, blah. And then what? Your testosterone through your granulosa cells is aromatized into estrogen. But notice what happened. All of that starts with the mitochondria in your theca cells to take cholesterol. Well, if you are inflamed, you get what's called senescent cells. Now, all of your theca cells, they are not able, because they're too inflamed, they can no longer take cholesterol and produce these androgens and
yep.
therefore estrogens. So
And
when that happens, your androgen and estrogens in your bloodstream are lower. So what does your LH and FSH do? In your brain, they go, oh, wait, we're not seeing hormones in the bloodstream. We need to work harder. So
yep.
your LH and FSH go up to trigger to your theca cells and granulosa cells, hey, start working better. But
Yeah.
they're like, hey, we can't, we're inflamed. So this
Yep.
is why we say this is not actually menopause. This is your body being so inflamed, and therefore your mitochondria cannot do their job because they're diseased and can't take cholesterol to make hormones. And so whenever I reverse all these things, like me and an MD the other day were just going over multiple case studies that I had where their LH and FSH were up to 40, 60, 80.
Mhm.
Within 5 months, I had both of them back down in single digits.
Yeah. Obviously, yeah. From actually fixing the root cause.
From fixing the root cause, I reversed their.
Mitochondrial dysfunction. Theca cells not uptaking the nutrients needed to convert into the active hormones like
Exactly.
estrogen, testosterone, and that's all incredible stuff. I'm actually curious though. Have you ever seen that, but with low FSH and LH?
Have I seen what exactly?
Those perimenopausal numbers in a 33-year-old woman with low FSH and LH. Have you ever seen that?
Well, when you say perimenopausal numbers, LH and FSH being high is really what dictates those perimenopausal numbers. So, what do you mean by
Okay.
perimenopausal?
Yeah,
With
yeah. So I guess for me it would be like, okay, so if we're looking at these lab values, and I should say actually it's just more of like a Dutch, so I ain't looking at LH and FSH. But so what you're kind of saying though, to start things off, is you're normally testing through bloods first for a female, going through kind of all these symptoms and issues.
So my contracts state that within 7 days of working with me, the very first thing you have to do is get a full blood panel according to what I test for. And
Okay.
then right after that, depending on what's going on, then I'll go Dutch, I'll go GI map, I'll go whatever. But blood work is for
Okay.
every single person that steps into my practice, 100%,
Okay.
right off the bat.
Wow, that's actually cool to know because some things that I do is that like, and not every case is everyone's different.
Sure.
Like if I get a PCOS, then it's like I will do full bloods to look at LH and FSH with PCOS, and then obviously I'd look at like their androgens through a Dutch and cortisol 24 hours, and then
Right.
obviously with like with like GI cases, I might just jump straight to a GI map and then later then do. But that's actually interesting. Actually, yeah, it's actually I might have to try that one because normally what I've been doing, and like sometimes what I like to do with my clients, and uh, yeah, it's all great, but like I'll do like a GI or a Dutch initially, and then like the after like 3 months, we always do baseline blood work
Yeah.
because I feel that a lot of the issues I can fix with obviously what Larry does, what Jason does, obviously what they do for their first process. I know I listened to the podcast you had with Jason just on the peptides, and so obviously the first thing I'm liking doing is the foundation phase I call, which is obviously kind of like getting the body reset, flushing them out. So it's like after I do a lot of that, it's almost like what we're doing with your pillars in terms of like, hey, dude, we're resetting you. We're getting your stress levels down. We're reducing inflammation. We're supporting mitochondrial function. We're supporting adrenal function. We're supporting thyroid function. But yeah, for sure. So so you're saying that okay, mitochondrial dysfunction being the main root cause to why women in her later years, or not later years, but later 20s, 30s, even 40s, the reason why you have perimenopausal numbers is mitochondrial dysfunction.
100%. Well, it has to be. Now, why the mitochondria are dysfunctional are a whole other topic, but it has to be. And the reason that we say that is because every disease on the earth, remember, all disease is metabolic. And
Yep.
so when we say all disease is metabolic, what we mean is all disease, metabolic means mitochondria. Mitochondria are, you can't have a disease without mitochondria. Mitochondria are what we're saying is disease. So
Yes.
anytime we're talking about diseased anything or low functioning anything, whether it's kidneys, whether it's liver, whether it's hormones, whatever, what we're talking about is technically mitochondria, because mitochondria are what is literally doing everything.
Okay. Yeah. So let's get into some of the things that we see in both of our practices, coaching, however you want to pronounce it. So, the biggest thing I see is obviously, well, females will come in and they're dealing with hypothyroidism, Hashimoto, same as you. But a big thing is the weight. How do you like to address these people's, weight struggles? Because obviously we live in a wonderful age of time now where they resort to different types of peptides and medications, and you do what you need to do. But how do you like to address those?
Yeah, so 93% of America as of 2023 is metabolically diseased, meaning in some
Mhm.
way, shape, or form, thyroid, autoimmune, weight loss resistance, tired, no sex drive. You're metabolically, you are not flexible. 93% of America. Every person that comes to me, for the most part, not 100%, about 90%, maybe 95%, they're not able to lose weight. And what I always tell people, and I tell people this on my consultation call, I tell them before they even sign my contracts. I say, hey, I need you to understand something. My top priority at this current moment is not to get you to lose weight. I tell them that right off the bat. So I tell them, you may not lose a pound with me for the first 4 months. And I go, why? Because your weight loss resistance is not a root issue, it's a symptom. You are not losing weight because you have metabolic dysfunction. You have adrenal issues. You have hypothyroid. You have PCOS. You have endometriosis. You have chronic inflammation. You have a fertility issue that's rooting because of your hypothyroid, whatever. I say, I
Yes,
have to fix these functional issues. And I go, as we fix these functional issues, weight loss is a byproduct
exactly.
of being healthy.
100%.
So I always tell people, if you want to just go get a quick weight loss, listen, you can go do keto real quick and starve yourself and lose 20 pounds. But here's the thing, when you gain that 20 pounds back, you haven't lost weight. Weight loss means you lose weight and you keep it off. So if you want to keep that weight off, you need to fix the root causes now, because I assure you, your weight loss right now is the least of your problems. Whenever
Yeah,
you're a type 2
exactly.
diabetic with dementia and hypothyroid and now you're growing a tumor, you're going to have way more issues. Fix the problem right now. So I tell people all the time,
Yeah.
are you going to end up losing weight with me once we fix the issues? For sure. But you have to know that my top priority as a functional practitioner and as a professional in this is I have to do what's best for the client. What's best for the client is not what the client wants. It's what I dictate is best for the client.
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
if I tell you, hey, your lab markers are way off, you're iron deficient, you're anemic, you're hypothyroid, you've got PCOS, endometriosis, oh, your A1C is a 6.3 and your insulin's a 27. oh, this is going, thyroid peroxidase is at 28 and your thyroid globulin antibodies are like, I'm going to say, hey, we have serious dysfunction here. Your EGFR is at a 54, like you have stage 3 kidney disease now. Like we've got a lot of problems that I have to address. Only once I fix those things will I start to push the body into a position to start really dropping weight or losing weight. But I tell people all the time, most of the time, I don't even have to push the body. Once I get them genuinely healthy and their metabolic function right, like one of my women, I won't say her name, but she's a very famous Instagram influencer, and has brought me probably about 50 clients alone. But with her, she came to me with all of these issues.
Yeah.
I fixed all of these issues. I've kept her at 2,000 calories for 9 months. She's lost 40 pounds, and she looks better in a bikini than most women do at 18 years old. But why?
Bro,
I didn't try
there's
to lose.
all the time. I'd say, dude, all the time, man. Like once you fix those internal dysfunctions, you can feed the heck out of someone, and they still are their body composition is only improving.
100%.
Because well, that's obviously what I tell my clients too, in terms of like, hey, like sure, you might lose some inflammation, water retention for sure once we get the body started moving again. But the reason why you can lose weight right here, right now, today, and the reason why you're not gonna is because you want to keep doing the things you have been doing. So there's so much resistance. I don't know if you ever have that, but there's a lot of resistance in the beginning. And they're like, I can't do this. I haven't been doing this. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, and I say to them, I'm like, do you know what the definition of insanity is, right?
Doing the same thing, expecting something different.
And I'm thinking, once you internalize that and you understand that, then we can proceed with what we're doing.
Well, the reason too that my clients don't budge back on it is because my clients come to me, they can't sleep. Like I have people that come to me on tranquilizers for sleep, like
Yeah.
trazodone or something, and they're still not sleeping. They go, I'm taking trazodone and I can't sleep more than an hour. I have no sex drive. I have bloating, this and the other. Here's the thing: within 60 days or less, my clients, all of their symptoms are gone. They're
Yeah.
sleeping 8 hours, their bloating's gone, their sex drive is through the roof. Like people see this on my page all the time. I'm always posting the stories. And so even though they haven't necessarily lost 25 pounds yet, what they tell me is, Nick, I have my life back. My brain fog is gone. My energy is good. Me and my husband are having sex 6 days a
Mhm.
week. My sleep is fantastic. So they go, oh my gosh, like I'm feeling so much better. I know things are fixing, even though the scale hasn't necessarily moved to the goal ideal weight. I know the body's doing that. And here's the reason why. I always have to give the statistic medically. I say, listen, according to PubMed, for every year that you've been dysfunctional, unhealthy in some way, shape, or form, which with most of these women, you're talking 6, 10, 15, 25 years, right?
Right.
So let's just say, hey, for 6 years, my body's been jacked up. Okay, that's fine. What PubMed states, for every year that you've been dysfunctional, it takes a minimum of 1 to 2 months to reverse it and become metabolically flexible again. So if you've been jacked up for 6 months, for 6 years, understand medically, that is by
Yeah.
definition, it will take 6 to 12 months to reverse this. Now, granted, do I fix a lot of these symptoms? Like,
Yeah. Well,
wake up.
same. Well, it's the same deal, but that's why there's no contract less than minimum 6 months for me. And
Exactly.
typically it's obviously like year is my favorite because you can do, initially, like you're saying, we get a lot of the systemic stuff out. You obviously are sleeping better, having more drive, but if you want full restoration, because you're coming to me with a chronic health condition, chronic meaning it's lasting years, months on end. This is not going to be a quick 90-day before and after.
Right.
This is a full blown process that we need to go through to get you back to where you want to be.
No, 100%. 100%. Absolutely. I agree 100%.
But yeah, like I wanna talk about one more thing real quick because I think I've seen it all the time, and I actually just had like man, it's like 5 or 6 this week, which is a blessing through Christ. But fertility, um, like what are you seeing with fertility? Like, what are you seeing as the main reason why women are so infertile? Do you also like to tell your women like, hey, like maybe your partner needs to, start fixing some things as well because, just blaming it on the female, like I think that's an issue I see a lot. But It's nonetheless, but because like I mean, I just had like three of them out of the six pregnancy we got confirmed. They all had PCOS, and everyone told them they couldn't get pregnant. They couldn't have children. They couldn't carry. They're gonna have to do all those crazy IVF, all the things. But we were able to get to a state now where I mean, what is she? I like it's like 20, 21 weeks. So yeah. But what are you doing?
Fertility, it depends for men and women. Keep in mind the statistic for fertility in the United States, fertility issues is 1 in 6 U.S. adults.
Yeah.
It is more common than basically autoimmunes and SSRIs combined. And so with fertility, start with men because even though there's a lot of depth to what I'm about to say, the topics in and of itself are shorter. So for men, we're talking about number one, inflammation, because now your Leydig cells and your testicles can't uptake cholesterol and produce proper hormones. But the other one, that's the bigger one that I don't think people are looking at, nor do people understand how to fix it properly, is prostate. And the reason being, keep in mind, the statistic is this: 1 in 2 U.S. adults that are men will have a prostate issue. It is the second highest cancer in men besides skin issues, and it is completely rampant within us. And the reason prostate is big is because prostate promotes 30% of your sperm quality. Enzymes, citric acid, and zinc are all coming from your prostate. You have a prostate issue from insulin resistance and all of these other things, and cortisol specifically with an estrogen receptor, then guess what? You're going to be infertile. So that's with men. So I have to go fix that full gambit of issues and fix with men. And I have fixed men and women both plenty of times. Now with women, it's one of two issues, generally speaking. Now, sure, we can say gut, we can say PCOS, we can say all of these things, but still all of those things are symptoms. The root of the fertility issues is one, we're coming from an adrenal issue that's causing inflammation, and so therefore you're not able to make a corpus luteum to produce progesterone properly. It's the
Yeah.
reason why women will either A, not get pregnant, or B, if they do, what do they have? A
Yes.
miscarriage.
Yep.
Because progesterone has to spike continually throughout all the way through the third trimester. So
Yep.
at any moment that progesterone drops because of an adrenal dysfunction, now you go into preterm labor or contractions and you lose the baby, or you go to preterm labor at 30 weeks, your kid isn't fully developed, whatever it is. The second thing is hypothyroidism. And even hypothyroidism, like we said earlier, though, is still a cortisol issue. But why is hypothyroidism in and of itself causing a fertility issue? Well, we have to understand, when it comes to the body's systems, everything starts in this order: hypothalamus, pituitary, then whatever organ we're talking about. So hypothalamus, pituitary, testicles.
Thyroid. Or yeah.
Hypothalamus, pituitary, thyroid. Hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenals. Whatever it is, we're starting in that order.
Yep.
So if we have a hypothyroid, that means T3 is not being picked up in the bloodstream. So what's going to happen from the hypothalamus? Your hypothalamus is going to go, we have to release thyrotropin, releasing hormone, which is going to go to your pituitary.
Yeah.
Now we have to release TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. Now we need to go to the thyroid and say we need more T4 and T3. Well, here's the thing:
when most of it's going to T4, and they're just giving you T4 for the hypo.
Right. But the problem is you're not converting T4 into T3.
Exactly. So well, that's what I'm saying. It's like it is crazy that. But yeah, keep going. Yeah, we're talking about fertility.
Well, and so with thyrotropin going up from the hypothalamus, if thyrotropin goes up, there's one other hormone that goes up with it: prolactin. Prolactin is a stress hormone. So if prolactin goes up, prolactin inhibits something else called kisspeptin, your kisspeptin neurons. They're actually using kisspeptin as a peptide now in clinics for fertility, but they're not realizing what the root is. If thyrotropin goes up, prolactin goes up, and it inhibits kisspeptin neurons in the hypothalamus. Kisspeptin is the precursor for GnRH, gonadotropin releasing hormone, in the hypothalamus, which is what goes to your pituitary to release what? LH and FSH, which then goes to your ovaries or your testicles to produce androgens and estrogen. So if
Yep.
you're having a hypothyroid, all of that stuff happens. But then you have to go, okay, what's the reason for the hypothyroid? It's the adrenals hindering the diadenous enzyme from converting T4 to T3. So it's still an adrenal issue at its core, but this is what's being looked at. So you have to fix the root of all of these issues. Once you fix the root of all these issues, they're not going to need IVF and all these other things. They're going to get
Dude,
pregnant like that.
I told you this. This is what I told him. I was like, she was so one of them was a deputy sheriff, the husband, and then the wife was like a travel nurse. And I told him, I'm like, until she was traveling, so I'm like, until you get back into the house with him and we reset your circadian health, your circadian rhythm,
Right.
and we do the best we can with your work, and you guys go on a vacation, and you will get pregnant. And they did all that, and now they're pregnant.
Amen.
And it's all about, like what you're speaking about, getting the stress down, and obviously circadian dysfunction, that plays a huge part, but that still causes all of the stress that our body is getting, because now it's like, but your body doesn't know what's going on anymore. I mean, you're waking up, you're working during the night, and this is why so many nurses, I think, or I should just say shift workers, deal with a lot of issues as well,
Sure,
because
circadian.
because of this. But yeah, that's fascinating. Obviously, main root cause to hypothyroidism is adrenal dysfunction, and so is the rest of most issues. But man, this has been really fascinating, from the seven pillars to just that's it's good that we know a lot. So yeah, is there any last remarks, words for you?
No, man, this has been great. I appreciate it. I hope it helps a lot of people.
Exactly. Well, what I'll do here for you, Nick, is I'll drop more info here down below and get your podcast too, Lifestyle of Eden. And yeah, we'll be solid from there.
Sounds good, man. Well, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. It's a pleasure talking with you, brother.
Of course. We'll talk soon, all right?